Annyeonghaseyo, that's Korean for hello, and in this video we're going to learn how to play Korean chess. In these two boxes here I have Korean chess pieces, and I'm going to be using these later to show you how the pieces move. While I have these boxes here, let me show you the name of the game in Korean. It's Janggi, and these are syllabic blocks of letters. They are not Chinese characters. And this is a letter that makes a J sound. This letter is a vowel that makes the A sound. And this letter down here makes an NG sound. So that's Jong. And this letter makes a G sound, sound of the letter G, which is G. And this makes a long E sound, so it's Gi, Jong-gi. And Jong means general, referring to this piece here. And Gi means strategy board game, so the name of the game means the general strategy board game. And it's noteworthy that the name shogi has the exact same meaning. Shogi is the name of the Japanese form of chess, but they're very different games, even though both are related to chess. Okay, so this is set up on the Symbolic Chinese chess set, and Korean chess can be played with the same equipment as Chinese chess. And there's only one difference in the setup of the two games, which is that the king, or the general rather, is placed in the center of the palace. In Chinese chess it would start here, but in Korean chess it starts here. And the palace is this 9 square area, that's 3 by 3 area. Here it's blocked off by a box, same over here. And the palace has the general and the two counselors in it, and the counselors and the general may never leave the palace. In Korean chess, they move the same as each other. They can move one space horizontally, vertically, or they can move diagonally along the white spaces. Okay, in the corner we have rooks, and they move pretty much the same as the rooks do in chess. Here we have knights, and they can move to the same spaces as knights do in chess, but they can be blocked. This is blocked here, so it cannot move here, but it can move here and here because it has to pass through this space to reach these spaces, and this one is empty. Here we have the general. Here we have the bishops, or the elephants, and these are related to the bishop in chess. At least they're related to the same ancestor. It's a distant cousin of the bishop, but it moves very differently than the bishop does. We have pawns up front, and these can move forward like pawns do in chess. They can also move to one side or the other, and they capture the same as they move. And the only piece in this game that's unrelated to any piece in chess is the cannon. We have two cannons here. And the cannon is related to the cannon in Chinese chess, but there are some differences from that cannon. That cannon would capture one way and move another way. It would move like a rook or capture by hopping over another piece. And this cannon moves and captures by hopping over another piece. But this is an illegal move here for this cannon because it cannot hop over another cannon. Also, if that were there, say, it could not make that move because it's illegal for one cannon to capture another. Okay, I've started to introduce the pieces here, but I'm going to go into how the pieces move in even greater detail using the Korean chess pieces. Here is Korean chess set up with traditional Korean pieces on a Chinese chessboard. The board is one I made myself by drawing lines on this very large mouse pad. And in the corners we have our rooks. We have the knights or horses next to those. We have the elephants. We have the counselors. We have the general. We have the cannons. If you're familiar with Chinese chess, you'll notice that many of these characters for the red pieces look like the characters used for one of the sides in Chinese chess. And the main exception is the character used for the general, which is an entirely different character than any used in Chinese chess. Now let me turn the board around so you can more easily see the green side. And these characters are rather different from the red characters. There are some similarities. Mainly the counselors use the same character, but the other characters are different. If you know Chinese chess, you'll probably recognize the character used for the pawns here, because those are used in Chinese chess. But the other characters are new. Some of these are cursive versions of the other characters. And here we have our rooks, the knight or the horse, the elephant, knight, rook. We have our cannons here. Here I've set up some ghost stones to show you how the pawn can move. The pawn can move one space to the side or one space forward. When the pawn is in the palace, it can also move diagonally along the lines of the palace. So this pawn here can move here to the center, as well as move here or here. It could also move here. Let me change the position of this pawn. Let me put it in the center. In the center, it could move here, or here, or here, as well as to the side. These stones here show you where the knight can move. As you can see, the knight can move to the very same spaces as a knight can in chess. However, it is possible for the knight to be blocked. Let's say that this piece is here. Then the knight would not be able to go here or here. And the reason for that is the knight first has to move one space orthogonally, which is horizontally or vertically, followed by a diagonal move in the same general direction. So it first has to move here and then here, say. But it can't do that if this piece is here. As seen here, the rook can move like the rook does in chess. It can move along a file or along a rank, as long as it's not obstructed by another piece. For example, if we have this piece here, then it cannot move any further than that piece. And when the rook is inside of the palace, it can move along the diagonals of the palace. But the move it makes along the diagonals must begin and end in the palace. So, like, it cannot continue its move here. Also, within the palace, it can still move along the ranks and the files. And it could move outside of the palace. If these were not here, for example, it could move here, here, or even here. The elephant, as shown here, makes an elongated knight's move. It can move to any of these spaces represented by the white ghost stones, and it first moves one space orthogonally, like the knight does, followed by two spaces diagonally in an outward direction, so like it can go there, for example. And like the knight, the elephant can be blocked. So let's say this piece is here, then it cannot move here or here, because this is part of its path to get to these spaces. Or let's say that that is there, then it could not move here. There are two places where you can block the movement of an elephant. The general and the counselors can each move one space along any of the lines in the palace. So from the center here, either the general or the counselor would be able to move to any other space in the palace. So this general can move to any of the spaces marked by a white ghost stone. He could also move here if these spaces were not occupied. And the counselor here in the corner is able to move to the center or move here or here. The cannon is seen here, 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 or here. The cannon moves as a rook, but it must hop over an intervening piece to reach its space. And here's an example. By hopping over this pawn, the cannon can go here, here, or here and capture this pawn. Or by hopping over the general here, it can go here or here. And this cannon over here could hop over this pawn and go here, here, or here. But note, it cannot capture this cannon because it's illegal for one cannon to capture another, and it cannot go past a cannon, so a cannon is able to block it. Also, this cannon here cannot go over here because one cannon is not allowed to jump over another cannon. Okay, if you're familiar with Chinese chess, you may know that there is a rule against opposing generals. The rule says that if you cannot have two generals on the same file with nothing in between them. But we do not have this rule in Korean chess. Here's how it works in Korean chess. Let's say this general is here, and this general moves here, so that they're along the same file. This is legal in Korean chess. If this general does not move to another file, or does not interpose a piece, so that at the end of the turn they are no longer exposed to each other on the same open file, then the game will end in a draw. So this move here is available to a player as a last-ditch effort. Let's say that player is very behind in the game, and doesn't seem to have any prospect of winning. Then he may choose to check the other general with his general and go for a draw. Now, some people say that when you do this, you lose the opportunity to checkmate your opponent later in the game. According to the best of my knowledge, according to the sources I've checked on this, this is not actually a rule of Korean chess. And there may be other interpretations of the opposing general's rule, but to the best of my knowledge, and I'm not Korean, so I'm not the expert, but I believe this is how Wikipedia says it, and other sources I've consulted have said that the rule is simply that if you don't move away or interpose a piece, then the game ends in a draw there. Otherwise, the game can continue as normal. Because of the rule that says that the game may end in a draw because if one general is exposed to the other and the other general doesn't move away, because of that rule, a situation like this is not checkmate. The red general can take the pawn, exposing the two generals to each other, and then this general would have to move away in order to keep the game from being a draw. Or he could interpose a piece, say the elephant there. So, whereas in Chinese chess, something like that would be check and the piece would be protected from capture because it would be protected by the general. In Korean chess, it's not protected. At the beginning of Korean chess, each player has the option of switching the positions of adjacent knights and elephants. And they can do that on one side or on both sides. Then the other player has the same option. And after both players have positioned their elephant and knight how they want them to be, then the regular play can commence. So, for example, green might do this, and red might do this. But note that, let me go back here. It's not legal to switch, say, with a knight with an elephant on the other side, so that you have two elephants here and two knights here, or vice versa. That's not legal. You have to keep one knight and one elephant on each side. So this is how we had it. And the advantage of switching a knight and an elephant is that an elephant can now move on the very first turn. We'll note that this elephant over here, which is in the usual position, has no legal move. It starts by going here and then going off in this direction, but it's blocked by this piece, and that space is occupied anyway. And going in this way, this space is occupied, so it can't move there. And here it's blocked here and here, so it can't move here. So the elephant is blocked in all the directions it could move in. But over here, it can now go like that and go to that space. So that's why you might want to switch a knight and an elephant. Let's now take a look at where you can play Janggi online. We're currently at play.chessvariants.org. See the URL here as well. I'm going to click on the banner for Game Courier. Game Courier is a set of scripts I started developing around 10 years ago in 2001 to play chess variants online. It presently includes its own programming language, which you can use to program the rules of games. You can also use it simply as a board for playing any games without rule enforcement. So altogether it supports over 700 chess variants right now. Many of these have not been programmed, but Janggi has. And I'm going to click on Games here, go to a page that shows some of the games, and up here there are links for getting to the other games. I'll page down to Janggi. And you'll see we have different graphic options. We have a Western set. This set's based on my game Eurasian Chess. And we have some more traditional sets. These sets down here are using basically the same images as the Korean pieces I was using earlier. Whereas these up here, being based on a font, are using the same characters for red and green. So let me click down here. And here I have the board. And there are some things I can do. Well, I can find invitations to play Janggi. There aren't any right now. I can also invite someone to play. Let's do that. So go down here, enter my information, and I can issue a personal invitation or an open invitation. An open invitation will go out to anyone, and anyone may accept the invitation. And page down here, set some time controls, click on invite, and it asks me if I want to fill the opponent field with the address for the CV game room mailing list. I'll click OK. This is a general place where it sends open invitations, and many people who use Game Courier are subscribed to this mailing list, but you don't have to be in order to find out about open invitations. Now I click invite again, and now the invitation has been sent. And let's go back to here, actually to here. And now let's find invitations to play the game, and here's the one I just created. And if you wanted to accept it, you could click open here and then fill in your information, choose which side you want to play, and click accept. I'm not going to accept my own invitation here, but let me point out that after you hit accept, if you have chosen the side which plays first, you want to immediately make your move, otherwise the game will be delayed. Okay, let's click on logs here and enter my name. See my games here. I'm already playing a game of Janggi here. And it's presently my turn. You may notice that the board is different than the one we were just looking at, but the pieces are the same. This is because you're able to choose whatever graphics you'd like to use among the graphics which are available when you're playing. So let's say your opponent has chosen graphics you don't like. You can choose different graphics. Let me show you an example here. Let's say I want to use Chinese chess pieces, and I'll change the board something simple. Click preview without making a move, and now I have different graphics here. But I don't actually want to use these graphics. I like the ones I had already. And that was Janggi leaf colored and Janggi wood. And we're back to the same graphics. Now it's my turn in this game. I think I move this piece. When I click it, a box appears around it. This only works if you have JavaScript running. Right now this pawn is pinned by this rook, so it's not able to take this, but because this is a screen for this cannon here. The cannon could come down here and take this. And this has served its purpose. It was attacking a piece here, and they've both moved away. So I think I'll move it here. And the page reloads with the new move. And then I click send to complete the move. And it tells me that I've made the move and it's been sent to my opponent. Okay, let's go back to here. We can also review past games of Janggi. Here are some past games. And before I called it Janggi in Game Courier, I was calling it Korean chess. And I changed the name when I reprogrammed how it worked. And I wanted the new code was not really compatible with the old code, and I wanted the old code around for the old games. Let me show you one of my games here. Further on in this video, we're going to be looking at this game on the actual board at this position, and I'm going to show you how I will, from this position, I can checkmate my opponent. And this game I won. I was playing red. My opponent was playing green. He resigned, so I'll be showing you how red could checkmate green later on. Okay, also paging down here we have some mention of the rules. And let's make sure I didn't miss anything before. Let's see, win by checkmating. There's no stalemate. Because a player may pass a turn. I don't think I covered that particular thing before. There is no stalemate in Janggi because a player may pass any turn. In chess you have stalemate where when you don't have a legal move the game ends in a draw. But because you may always pass your turn, that's not a concern in Janggi. Also, there are different interpretations of the opposing general's rule. I believe the one I've described to you earlier is the correct one. And it's the one that's I've programmed for Game Courier, for Janggi and Game Courier. Okay, Game Courier also supports many different games. Here on the logs page, we have people playing a variety of different games here. And now let's turn back to the physical board and look at the position I just showed you earlier. Okay, here we have a position where my opponent resigned. He was playing green. Let me begin by telling you what pieces we have here. We have the general here and the general here. Red's counselors or guards are here. Green's is here. And green has a rook here. Red has a rook here. Then red has a cannon and a knight. And green has an elephant. Okay, since my opponent was green and he resigned, it's green's turn. So let's look at what green can do. One thing that green could do is move the rook down here to check the general. But the red can easily respond with this, and there's nothing that green can do now. This here, even though the general is in a place where this can reach, this is blocked by this. And green has no way to check red again, not on this turn. So this doesn't look like it's such a good move. So I'll go back here and move this back here. Let's look at some other possibilities for green. If green cannot checkmate red, then green has to try to prevent checkmate of his own general. So let's consider what this piece can do, the counselor. Well, first let's consider what is the threat to the general here. There are two possible threats here. One is that this pawn is going to come down like that, and that's going to be checkmate, because this is checking it along the diagonal. Remember, pawns can move along the diagonals in a palace. And he's also covering this space and this space, and he's protected by the rook. And none of the other green pieces can capture that piece. So that would be checkmate. The other possibility is this, that the rook comes and takes the counselor, checking the general in the same way, and being protected diagonally by the pawn. So those are the two threats facing green. And how might green respond? Well, perhaps by taking out the pawn. But no, he can't do that, because when he takes out the pawn, the general is now in check from the knight. So that move is actually illegal. And likewise, if he were to move here, or here, or here, or here, if he were to move, then he would be exposing the general to check, so he can't do that. This piece has only one move, and that's to take the knight. And an additional benefit of this move is, now that he's here, if the pawn comes down like this, the counselor can take the pawn, and it's not checkmate. Likewise, if the rook comes down like this, the counselor can come down, take the rook, and it's not checkmate. Therefore, red does not want to try to checkmate the general right away. Red's best response is to take the counselor. And now we have a threat of checkmate like this, or like this. Well, green can come here, and if the pawn comes down like this, then green can take the pawn, and that won't be checkmate. However, the rook can come in like this, and that is checkmate, because this rook cannot capture that rook. So there you go. Kamapsida. And if you're interested in Janggi or in other chess variants, take a look at my other videos on chess variants, such as my Chinese chess video, or my shogi videos, or my chess video. Also, I have a video on my own game, Kamikaze Mortal Shogi, and I've done a video on Alice Chess, and eventually I'll have more videos up on other chess variants. So stay tuned, and subscribe if you're interested.